So forget waiting for a company to go public. I mean, what if you could be an owner from day one? Today we're diving into a whole new model for shared wealth, one that a lot of experts are saying is going to be totally mainstream by 2026. This is your chance to get ahead of the curve and really understand it before everyone else does. Just let that sink in for a minute. Seriously. Think about all the value that's created by employees, by users, by communities, and then where does it all go? The vast majority of the profits end up with just a handful of executives and those early investors, right? Well, this idea, it challenges that entire model. It's asking a really powerful question. What if we could build organizations that are actually owned by the very people who build them?
Okay, in this visual, it just perfectly nails the fundamental shift we're talking about. On one side, you've got that classic pyramid structure we all know, right? All the power is consolidated right at the top. But on the other side, you have a network. See, in a DAO, the rules aren't just made up by a CEO on a whim. Nope, they are baked right into transparent code that literally anyone can see. And here's the kicker. No single person can just go in and change it. That is a massive, massive difference.
All right, so the big question is, why now? Why is all this happening right now? Look, this isn't just about some cool new piece of tech. It's way bigger than that. It's about this growing frustration, this feeling that the traditional financial system is kind of broken. We're literally watching the walls of that old system start to crumble, and that's creating the perfect opening for something entirely new to step in.
I mean, think about it. For decades, the best investment opportunities have been locked away, hidden behind these big walls, only accessible to a tiny, select group of people. The rest of us? We were stuck with crazy high fees, systems that are impossible to understand, and basically zero control over our own money. Well, that frustration has been building and building, creating this huge demand for something different, and that's exactly the void that DAOs are now starting to fill.
Okay, so we've covered the why. Now let's get into the what. We know this new model is emerging, but yeah, the name itself, DAO, can sound a little technical, a little intimidating. So let's just break down what it actually means, nice and simple.
All right, here's the official textbook definition. But a better way to think about it is like, imagine a club. A club where the rules aren't just written in a dusty old book, they're written in stone, or in this case, they're written in code. And no single president or boss can just decide to change them. The whole thing is owned and operated by all of its members, and every single major decision gets put to a vote. Simple as that.
So let's zoom in on those two key words. First, decentralized. It's simple, really. It just means there's no central boss, no CEO, no board of directors. Power is spread out across everyone. Now, autonomous. This is where things get really, really cool. The organization's rules, they're written into this self-executing code called smart contracts. So when the community votes to do something, say, spend some money, the code just does it automatically. No manager needs to sign off. There's literally no room for someone to step in and interfere.
And I absolutely love this analogy because it just illustrates the core idea so perfectly. You've probably heard of a local food co-op, right? Where all the members own the store together. Well, a DAO takes that exact same concept, puts it on these global digital tracks, the blockchain, and then basically puts it on steroids. It's a supercharged co-op for the digital age.
Okay, so the theory behind all this is obviously powerful, but you might be thinking, does it actually work? Like, for real? How do these community-run things actually make money? Well, let's look at exactly that. How DAOs are going from just a cool concept to becoming serious high-revenue engines.
Yeah, this is not just theory. DAOs are already out there, and they're profitable. In the world of decentralized finance, or DeFi, they basically act like community-owned banks, earning fees from things like lending and borrowing. Or look at gaming. You have whole guilds of players pooling their money to buy super rare digital items, and then sharing all the profits. And here's the really exciting part. They're now starting to bridge the gap into the real physical world. And this right here, this is the huge trend you've got to watch for 2026. I'm serious. We're seeing DAOs come together to buy stuff you can actually touch. We're talking apartment buildings, we're talking environmental credits, even buying shares of professional sports teams. They're taking these real-world assets and plugging them directly into this new digital model of owning things together. You know what? This is a total game changer. Think about how it normally works. You have to wait for a company's IPO, its initial public offering, to get a piece of the action, right? And that's usually way after the early investors have already made their massive returns. Well, with a DAO, you can get direct financial participation right from the jump. You're an owner from day one, period.
Okay, so the potential here is obviously huge, but this isn't a spectator sport, right? So this leads us to the most practical, most important question of all. How do you actually get involved? How do you claim your own seat at this new table?
Well, it all comes down to something called a governance token. And honestly, the best way to think of it is like your share certificate and your voting ballot all rolled into one. Holding these tokens doesn't just mean you get a piece of the financial pie, it means you get a direct say in all the crucial decisions. We're talking how the group's money gets spent, what new features to build, what projects to go after next. You're in the driver's seat.
Now, this is absolutely crucial. Not all DAOs are created equal, not even close. Before you even think about getting involved, you have to do your own research. Look for those green lights, a clear roadmap for the future, a transparent treasury that you can actually go and look at yourself on the blockchain, and you have to be super cautious of the red flags. I mean, think about it. If the founders are totally anonymous, who's accountable if things go wrong? Or if one person holds like 80% of the tokens? Well, that's not very decentralized, is it?
So, how do you get your hands on these first tokens? Well, there are actually a few different ways. Sometimes you might get an airdrop, which is basically free tokens, just for being an early user of a platform. You can also buy in during the initial launch phase. Or, and this is pretty cool, you can even contribute your skills. If you can code, or write, or do marketing, you can actually get paid in tokens and earn your stake by working for the DAO.
Okay, look, it is so easy to get excited about all the potential here. I get it, but we have to be realistic. We just have to. This is a brand new frontier, and that means there are definitely risks involved. So let's get real for a minute and walk through what you absolutely need to be aware of.
The risks really fall into two main buckets. First up is technical risk. The code, the very code that runs the whole organization, could have a bug in it that hackers can exploit. This is why, and I cannot stress this enough, you never get involved with a project that hasn't had its code checked by multiple reputable security auditors. The second risk is one you're probably more familiar with, market volatility. Just like any new asset, the price of these tokens can go up and down, and I mean a lot.
So the crucial point is this. It brings us to the single most important rule of investing in anything new, and it could not be more true here. Never ever invest more than you can truly afford to lose. This is not the place for your rent money or your grocery budget. Be smart, be cautious, and manage your risk.
But here's the interesting twist. With a DAO, your absolute best defense is the community itself. It's a huge advantage. By being active, by participating in the group's chats and forums, you become part of this collective intelligence. You'd be amazed. Members often spot potential problems or red flags long before the wider market has any clue what's going on.
All right, we've gone through the theory, we've talked about the incredible potential, and we've been honest about the risks. Now it's time for the final, most important part. Let's take all this information and turn it into a simple, actionable plan so you can begin your own DAO journey starting today.
And look, getting started is probably way easier than you think. Step 1, you need a digital wallet, something like MetaMask or Phantom. Just think of it as your ID and your bank account for this new digital world. Step 2, use a platform like Tally or DeepDAO to just browse around, see what's out there. And step 3, and this is key, just start small. You really don't need a lot of money. Buy a tiny amount of tokens in a project that catches your eye, maybe cast a vote, just get a feel for how it all works.
Then, as you start to get more comfortable, remember the golden rule. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. You gotta diversify, just like you would with stocks. A smart, balanced strategy might look something like this. You've got the bulk of your holdings in big, stable, blue-chip DAOs. Then you have a smaller chunk dedicated to promising growth areas, like DAOs focused on AI or real-world assets. And finally, maybe just a tiny slice for those really speculative, high-risk, high-reward experiments. It's all about balancing that stability with that exciting potential for growth.
Because at the end of the day, this whole shift, it's about so much more than just money. It's about having a real voice. It's about co-owning a piece of the future. It's about building wealth together as a community. The doors are swinging open to a totally new world of shared prosperity. So the only question left is, are you ready to take your seat at the table?